What's up guys, welcome back for another YgoPro duel video. Link format, again this is the YgoPro Beta version, so that's why the quality is a little off. Since you can't make the screen bigger, so that's why at least the quality of the video is a little off, so my apologies for that. But new archetype, Vullets. I think everyone already knows this archetype. They are very similar to like Gadgets, maybe Burning Abyss, but definitely not on the power level of Burning Abyss, is that these new Vullet monsters, they trigger during the end phase. It is that when they are destroyed, either by a battle or by a card effect, and sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon another copy, at least another Vullet monster than the one that got destroyed, from your deck. And that's already a minor downside to this archetype, is that they only trigger during the end phase. So again, really slow. Their biggest, at least yeah, first of all their boss monster, which is called Varrel, a Load Dragon, is somewhat hard to get out. It's a Link 4 and at least, yeah, it needs at least 3 effect monsters, so yeah, your Vullets, right, and maybe even more monsters. It's somewhat easy to get out, like with your Brilliant Fusion, for example, with your Plant engine, it's very easy to get out, but without these cards, without Brilliant Fusion, or at least the Brilliant Fusion engine, the Load Dragon is very hard to get out. Load Dragon is like the boss monster of the deck, sitting at 3k attack points. It cannot be targeted by monster effects, and once per turn during both players' turns you can target one monster on the field and it will lose 500 attack and defense. And importantly, this effect, or at least yeah, when a Link monster targets your smaller Vullet monsters on the field, you can trigger their effects. And first of all, there is like the 1800, I believe it's Magna Vullet, the level 4 one. When he is targeted by a Link monster effect, you can use your Vullet monster, your Magna Vullet Dragon's effect, to destroy itself and destroy one monster on the field. So it's like a smashing ground Raigeki break of a card. And you know, it will trigger during the end phase, searching out another copy of either of the other two Vullet monsters. The second one here is Auto Vullet. Auto Vullet, same like the previous one, but he destroys back rows. And the third one here, your NS Vullet, I believe the name is, he can negate monster effects and also prevents the targeted monster from attacking, so it cannot attack. So they're okay. It's level 1 by the way, but again very slow. Their boss monster again is very hard to get out unless you have Brilliant Fusion or the Brilliant Fusion shenanigans in the form of your Plant engine, but otherwise it's very hard to get out. And the biggest downside of this deck is that your smaller Vullet monsters won't trigger when they are used for a Link summon. So again, you are sacrificing a lot of resources if you're making your Link summon. For example, your Varrel Load Dragon, if you're like sacrificing your smaller Vullet monster. So most of the time it's very hard to get out your boss monster, and then at the same time very slow. So I think, yeah, the Plant engine is needed for now in this deck, since it definitely speeds up this deck. Same with Lone Fire. 50 cards here eventually is the version, and I'm going with you will see it in the duels, and I'm playing a lot of versions, a lot of card possibilities here in the deck, like what is it called? Supply Squad has been in the main deck, but it's very slow. I eventually dropped it from the main deck. Needle Sealing is also a nice tech. Torrential Tribute is at 3 in the OCG, and is of course an instant 3 off here in the deck, since it of course triggers your smaller Vullet monsters. But outside of that, yeah, eventually I went with the True King engine with your Diagram, for example, since it also triggers your smaller Vullets, since that's something the archetype still lacks, destroying their monsters and then, you know, triggering their effects, get more pluses out of that. They do have a draw card in the form of a Destiny Draw, although you have to destroy a Vullet monster on the field. Destroy it and draw 2 cards. And thus, you know, during the end phase you can special summon another Vullet monster from your deck. The second is also a quick play like the previous one. It's called Quick Revolve, I believe. I believe you can only use it once per turn. Or at least, yeah, you can special summon one Vullet monster from your deck and it's destroyed during the end phase. So it's like a Rota, only at 2 in the deck, but it's something that you can definitely play as a 3-off here. But it's already sitting at 50 cards. Reason for that is, of course, you don't want to, or at least you want to minimize the chances of drawing your Garnet, for example, or your Darling Cobra. So that's why I'm running over 40 cards, that is, and I think it's well worth it, since, you know, with all these monsters in the main deck, the chances are very high that you're drawing all your smaller Vullets if you're playing like 40 cards. So that's why I'm playing 50 cards with more spell and traps in the main deck. The extra deck is pretty self-explanatory. Pretty much all the linked monsters. Your Varrel Low Dragon is your boss monster. Bomber Dragon is also in there as a possibility, but outside of that, not. Yeah, Proxy Dragon again is also something important. The Twin Triangle Dragon is also a new card. Needs 2 level 4 dragon monsters, which are your Vullet monsters, by the way. And when it's summoned, when it's link summoned, you can pay 500 life points to reborn a bigger level 5 or a higher monster from your grave. But yeah, you know, its effect is negated and it cannot attack. So it's something to give you extra link options. So yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's see a few example duels. First example, so still playtesting against Subterrors. It's getting a bit old, right? Playtesting against True Kings, True Draco, True DX. So let's get something different. You will see that I'm playing like different ratios here in the deck, or at least in these duels. Here I was still playing, I believe this was one of the first duels with this deck. I was still playing Supply Squad. My mindset behind this was, you know, the deck is very slow, so that's also one of the reasons why I ran Needle Shielding to trigger those monsters and at the same time clear the field and, you know, with Supply Squad draw those cards, right? But that didn't work out very well. Eventually dropped Supply Squad and like Needle Sealing and other cards in favor of the True Draco field spell and engine in total. Okay, he gets some Subterror shenanigans going, but eventually during the end phase I get to summon one of my Magna Vullet, indeed, the level 4. You know that destroys monsters. I was able to get that Varrel Load Dragon already on the field, and then, yeah, it's just because of Brilliant Fusion. If you have the Predator Plant engine with your Brilliant Fusion, it's much more easy to get your Varrel Dragon on the field and, you know, eventually use your smaller dragon's effect. Since again, once per turn you can target one monster on the field with your low dragon, and yeah, its attack and defense will be decreased by 500. But you know, this will trigger your smaller Vullets, triggering their effect, and with the level 4 you can like pop a monster from your opponent. With level 3 you can pop a back row, and with the level 1 you can first of all negate the monster's effect from your opponent, and at the same time that monster cannot attack. And something very important I forgot to mention is that your low dragon, your link 4 boss monster also has like a brain control-ish effect. Is it when it attacks or when it attacks any monster from your opponent, you can gain control of that opponent's monster, but it will be destroyed during the next end phase. But I think the effect is still glitched, as you will see in a few moments. Second example here is perfect to resemble, or at least to showcase why this archetype is definitely not on the same level as something like Burning Abyss was back in the when they were released. Very slow, and as soon as you lose your field advantage, or as soon as if you're not able to get your low dragon, your Varrel Dragon on the field, it's very hard, since again the deck is very slow. Another example, I get to start. Yeah, here I was already playing like 48 cards or something like that. The ratios are like small differences, but you know, the True King field spell to search out the Fire Draco monster. Lone Fire is in the deck, and outside of that, not too many fire types. Of course, yeah, your True King monster is also of course a fire type, but it's much more important to have a target off of your diagram to, you know, trigger your smaller Vullet monsters. There is Lone Fire. I'm not really sure if you know his back row, but I think it's worth it, right, to go for the Predator Plant engine. It's like the Predator Plant engine is a 1 card Varrel Low Dragon. Yeah, of course you need to discard 1 card, but you know what I mean, right? There is a Low Dragon, and eventually use its effect to trigger the level 3 one to pop the back row from the opponent. And now I'm in a very decent position. Yeah, indeed, I still have the field spell search, and both monsters will trigger in the end phase. So it's up to you which ones you want to search. Most of the time it's just better to search the monster destroyer, the level 4 one here at the right, and the level 3 one, the spell destroyer. With the monster zones, you have to, you know, if you're playing a Link format, it's kinda crucial to keep the monster zones in mind. And in case of your low dragon, that's somewhat important, since it's brain control effect. You can only gain control of your opponent's monster and put it at a zone linked to your low dragon. So that's something to keep in mind, is to keep those zones free, right? To gain control of an opponent's monster. But I think that effect is still glitched, as you saw. Another example, again, there is the script draw. I believe it was the first time that I got it here in the duel, at least in these series of duels. You know, tribute or at least destroy one Vullet monster on the field and draw 2 cards. So perfect to get like some nice pluses and some effects going. The low dragon is on the field, and I believe I have the spell searcher, at least, yeah, the spell destroyer here, so use Vullet dragon's effect, or at least, yeah, low dragon's effect to pop the back row, and during the end phase, search the Magna Vullet, the monster destroyer, by the way. Again, lone fire, you know the shenanigans by now, into the Predaplant engine, into Brilliant Fusion, etc. Oh no, indeed, I think I already used my Cobra's effect, so you know it's once per duel. So we'll go for Proxy Dragon. Proxy Dragon is an excellent choice here in the deck since it protects your monster from being destroyed by any kind of destruction. So again, providing some extra destruction for your big ass boss monster. And it also triggers your Vullet monsters, right, when they are destroyed. Or at least you know Proxy Dragon's destroy effect. The strike comes into play. I still like strike. You need it, I think, here in the deck, or at least in pretty much every deck, to negate any possible big ass threat. In this case, I was able to negate the Feedness and keep my field intact. So again, attack the face down monster, gain control of it, and it's destroyed for some reason. Not really sure if that's correct. It's probably should not be destroyed. It should only be destroyed during the next end phase, I believe. So you know, it's like an extra monster to use during your main phase 2. Flip it face up, or you know, still attack with it during the same battle phase, and go for an extra Link summon if it's like an effect monster. But yeah, again, it's just to showcase the possibilities of this deck. Another example, again, I get to start. So special summon with Revolve, special summon yeah, any Varrel monster from my deck, eventually trigger the field spell first to get those True King cards out of my deck, which is basically the level 9 True King monster. And then you eventually use the script draw as well to draw 2 cards and trigger in the end phase. This case, the only negation I have here is the Ghost Ogre, and that forced out, I believe, a second copy of his Feedness. During the end phase, use the script draw again, quick play spell indeed, to draw 2 cards and, you know, trigger the monster, the Vullet monster during the end phase. Not taking any risk here, use eventually my Cyclone to pop, or at least banish his face down unknown card, since we know his first set here is like the final battle. So again, get the same combo. Yeah, everyone knows it, right? Brilliant Fusion is going to be such an important card, and the Predaplant engine is also such an important engine here in this deck. It gives the deck a boost, more monsters on the field, more effect monsters, that is, to at least, yeah, give you more possibilities to make that Link 4 summon here. And yeah, I have Low Dragon on the field, use the True King monster, and I believe this is exactly game. So again, okay, I'm not a huge fan of him. It's like the archetype, the Vullet archetype definitely needs something, or at least more cards to destroy themselves. Something like a field spell, you know, to search or whatever. They only have, for now, their script draw, the destiny draw. But the fact that you need to run the True King engine, which, let's face it, might get hit soon by the time we get these new cards like Masterpiece. Maybe Diagram is also something that might get hit, you never know. So still, this is the first wave of support, so we might get more, we're probably going to get more Vullet support in the form of like a field spell or whatever, right? So Fire King Island is also something that you can definitely play in this deck. Cyclone in the end phase, not really sure, I believe I hit a call indeed, but I think he has the Solemn Strike set, which I can bypass here. So Chainlink 1 is the Low Dragon, Chainlink 2 is the Auto Vullet Dragon to try to pop the back row. He does use Strike, but I don't think he needed to do that, since again, his back row always would have been destroyed, and my Auto Vullet monster is destroyed by a card effect, by the strike. So I get to search during the end phase. So it's all fine and dandy, but again, very, very slow. You have to wait until the end phase to get these searches. I still, yeah, indeed my diagram is still live. I still have one copy of the True King in my deck. He does use soul charges, which is all fine, but I believe I was able to get rid of his monster thanks to my load dragon. I make the, what is it called, that triangle dragon. Triangle dragon is an interesting card. It's not really a great card, like when it's link summoned you pay 500 life points to reborn a level 5 or higher monster. So in this case it's like your Seraphine Knight, for example, or your level 9 True King monster from your grave. The monster's effect is negated, it cannot attack during that turn, but it's something to, you know, put yourself, at least give yourself an extra monster to, yeah, to possibly go for a link 3 summon. So it's cool to have in your extra deck, to have the option to go for it. Double link spider because of Gofu and the tokens to give you effect monsters to go for your Vullet, yeah, your low dragon, for example. But again, feel free to leave suggestions if you want. There's also like, oh, I forgot its name. It's like the card next to Masterpiece here. It's like a Goblinberg for your, or yeah, a tin goldfish for your dragon type monsters. It gives you an extra summon, but again, it's the fact that your Vullet monsters don't trigger when they're used for a link summon. That's a lot of resources, and I'm not really sure that you want to main deck this to give you extra summons, but it's not like with Exceeds, right? You go for tin goldfish and make some more pluses out of this. The fact that these Vullet monsters don't trigger when they're used for a link summon, I don't think your level 4 here is worth it to give you the extra summon. But here in the extra deck or other options, you can definitely play this. So guys, feel free to leave suggestions, and as always, feel free to leave a comment or a like if you enjoyed the video. Lithium signing out. Peace.